Once more, we made it.
Nice.
We made it to another week.
Yeah.
Amazing. Welcome, everybody, on the rerun or live. I know this is amazing time to push this live. It has worked, and it works still, so we're good. Today, by the way, we're calling this the pivot point. We call this the ad HQ because we're going to run through a variety of things in e-commerce and ad landscape. The core crux that we're trying to fix in all of these events, lives, is that we see that everybody's focusing on ad platform, focusing on return on ad spend. Clients get these agency dashboards, which looks amazing, beautiful ROAS, but ultimately the client's own real check, which is Shopify bank account, doesn't say the same thing. So we're here to break it all down: the ads, the P&L, the finance, what is working, why it doesn't work, the good, bad, and the ugly. And with me today, as always, is my wonderful strategist, Rachna. Welcome. And
Thank you so much.
I think
looking forward to it. I hope I don't disappear and then start talking to the screen alone in the corner.
I think you should, because now people expect this. We need some unknowns during these sessions. I think it's going to be good.
Yeah.
It would be boring if we would be always the same thing.
Yeah. If you had not slagged me, but my neighbors would have been like, "Who are you talking to?"
Exactly. That's what it's about.
What are you talking?
What is this language? What is this? Who speaks like that? This slang is not for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, last week we started off with a case study where we helped a client move from 109K to 471 in 18 months, but also increasing their contribution margin to 50% while their ROAS was actually moving down. And today we're going to dive a little deeper on the levels of contribution margin. And Rachna, you can take it away if you want.
Awesome. We'll do a bit of a 101. I know you created this pretty infographic that we'll add to the screen. Would you want to add?
You want to add it right now? You want to start there? Let's do it.
Yeah. Let's give it away to the people.
All right. Let's do this.
All right. So this is a bit not talking about Google Ads, not talking about any ad platform, your ROAS, pretty in dashboards, reports, but this is the back end that really makes money for the business. And if we don't understand these levels, then we will be put accountable to things which we don't have control over or visibility to, or really provide value to the brand, or how to move the lever. How can we scale a business without knowing business metrics would be very like shooting in the dark. So that's why we start understanding these levels of business, which are basically margins.
Are you telling me that if I only optimize on ROAS, I'm shooting in the dark as a business? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, spot on.
Yeah,
exactly. Wait, just give me 1 second. And that deserves...
There it is.
Exactly. So that is what the mindset has been changing, and like people are not so valuable to the brands anymore who are just contributing to ROAS and talking this language of CPC or CPM, and these are all vanity metrics which were sort of useful in the past. But as we evolve and we need to understand what makes a business profitable. And so if you really want to understand and help a business grow, you need to talk to them in their language. How do they talk to the finance team internally? So if we talk to them in their language, then we are on the same page. We are working towards the same thing. But if we talk jibber jabber and then the client is like, what are you talking about? But my bank account is empty and it's like different language my finance team tells me, then there's a disconnect. So it is better that we understand that, and we help by understanding their language, learning their language.
What is the first
That's right.
question? What is the first question you would ask when we come in with a brand? Like normally people going straight into the ad platform, either Meta or Google, and tell all the things that are going right or wrong. But what's the core question you want to ask when it comes
I
in?
usually ask what's your product margin to begin with. Sometimes the product margin for a vertical would make sense, but sometimes it does not. So you're actually dealing with a business model that at the core of it cannot be you can't scale it. So or there are some other issues. So first thing I understand is margins, like what is your product margin, where what's your gross margin, and then we'll dig into it, like what each of these really mean,
Yeah,
which gives me an understanding like how much of impact the current marketing is doing for making them profitable, and where can I tweak or can I help them, and not necessarily looking into Google ads. Like I don't ask them, probably I'll just ask them what's your total ad budget,
yeah.
that's it. And then comes understanding where they are spending.
I think that's the big contrarian take, right? Because there's still so many people out there that are focused. Like for years, we have seen the landscape change. First, it was tracking issues. I mean, it changes so fast anyway. But now we're in a time like 40, 50, 60% of all conversion data is modeled. How much can you actually trust it? And then we have all the overlap between the channels. Nowadays, the wasted ad spend is not so much on the platform, it is in between the platforms. And until you understand really the top line business metrics, that's really where you can pull the levers, understand which channel has more accuracy, which should be the engine versus the follower. And then we're getting into the contribution margin because that's ultimately going to decide where to put your money. And that's contrary to focusing on ROAS.
Exactly. And we've been in those situations like years ago. Like I remember when I entered into media buying, I was in that exact situation of like, I am looking at ROAS and I am delivering the best ROAS in the world. And my client is just frustrated with me. He's like, what are you doing? Like, and then I'm showing my ROAS. And that took me, like, at that time, I really took it to heart. Like, there's something that I'm doing wrong. Then I need to understand what is it that they are suffering, and then learning from there. And we've seen like last this case study that we shared, we
Yeah,
did move the needle for them like a lot, because we actually started looking into what matters to them.
exactly.
um,
So in that light, right, if we're talking about the case study like we did last time, and I think this infographic shows it as well. Like you said, okay, let's start with the product margin. We're starting at the top. Is there anything there that would be typically a red flag?
like industry specific,
Yeah.
lower than that product
Hmm.
margin. Like if you are, for example, health and supplement, then the industry standards are like 70 to 80%. But if you, let's say, fall under 60, then it is a red flag.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and then fashion or apparel, there is an industry standard. If you fall under that, then you will struggle, because then your competitor would be able to and can afford to pay more to acquire the customer, but you can't.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
and yeah, the markets are like, it's like, again, if you talk about Google, it's like you pay more, you get more, can't pay
Yeah.
more, get out.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we've also seen clients with, some clients need a 10 return on ad spend to be profitable, and some need a 1.5 to be profitable. That's just the ROAS, but it doesn't tell you anything about what happens at the backside, right? It's like we have an iceberg that is only the 10%
Hmm.
is above water, the other 90% is below the water. And that's actually what we're diving into and what's important. So, yeah, how do we move then from we know the product margin? What's the next steps? What do we need to know?
Yeah, so basically look it at as like a pie. Like if you have a pie, if you get this round pie and then you cut these pieces out, what is left out at the end is basically the net profit, which is for the owner to enjoy in peace. But if all the other people before that take the big chunk of it, then the owner is left out with crumbs and there's literally nothing for them to enjoy. So if we start from product margin is literally the cost to actually produce that good, to sell in the market. So that's your biggest, usually the biggest product margin that gets cut into from that pie. And then comes your gross margin. So gross margin is basically how much would it take for me to deliver that product to the end user. Now that could be multiple things like shipping, packaging, and like transaction fees if you're selling online, like taxes. So all of those returns and discounts. And then that's the second biggest pie. Now the third one is then you have to market. You have to spend on your marketing platforms. You have to keep it, pay to Google, Meta, and all of those platforms. And that's your third. And the last one is how much does it take for you to operate that business? You'll have to pay to your employees. You'll have to buy, I don't know, dog food to the dog that guards your office.
You got your
So all
office,
of those
yeah.
expenses.
Yeah. It's important
Yeah,
stuff. I mean, it is on your OPEX. If you have a dog, you got to have dog food. That's, and we
exactly.
all know how dog food, cat food is not, inflation
Cheap.
is real. Inflation is
It's
real.
not
You got to
cheap.
put it on there. Yeah.
Exactly. So all of that expense is in your OPEX. Also, the agency fee, sometimes people think that it's a part of advertising spend, a marketing spend. It is not. It is an operating spend because the agency fee sometimes it like depends on if it gets increased depending on the ad spend or like in that sense. But
Yeah.
it's
Performance fees. Yeah.
usually a fixed. Yeah. So yeah, so we look at it at that. Now when you see an opportunity that probably I'm overpaying on my cost of delivery, how is it that I can reduce my cost of delivery? That's one level where I can save a little bit more of that pie for myself and not give it away. So like if you are a foodie, you would understand like how much you want to eat that pie, so you will try your best to keep it to yourself and not have to trade it to with someone else.
Yeah.
And that's where, like, let's say that if I have a fixed cost of delivery by $5 per order, I'm just taking an example. And if I sell one single unit, what if I bundle it together? It still costs me the same, but I'm just now selling two units at the same cost of delivery. So things like this actually make more improvement for the net profit than changing a bidding strategy, for example. That would not help
I,
you in any way.
I think that's key here, right? So what we're trying to establish is like what is the biggest friction point and how can we fix it? So it's not only looking at the toolbox inside your ad platform, which you could increase your margins maybe 0.11%, but looking at the business as a whole and looking at these levels of contribution margin, there might be something in that. It gives you a 30% leverage or more. And that's truly, if you understand, is where you can make the biggest impact, because we all know traffic is an amplifier, but when there's a leaky bucket, and we talked about this a lot of times, you scale a leaky bucket. Not
Yeah,
great.
that's not great. And yeah, so even if let's for example take a like if your marketing team tells you like we will sell more if you discount more, that's a red flag. You probably should not discount more because that cuts off your margin. You'd
Yes.
find a sweet spot where you sell enough but at the same time keep the margin. Again, that's something to watch out for, rather like aside from the agencies flashing you these high ROAS your way. So yeah, that's what exactly what we did for the case study that we've been talking since like last session we did. We took all of those numbers from Shopify. We understood each levels, and we spoke to the client about, like, let's say product margin. What are your COGS? If we start from there, I'll just finish this one, and then we can jump on that
Yep.
Sheen. Let's do that. So basically here, if you look at it, there's an example. If you there's a retail price for $100 and your product margin is 30, like you have to pay to the manufacturer $30 to produce that good, then your margin at which is also called a CM1 is 70%. And then after that, you have to also deliver that product, which costs you shipping $11, pick and pack 4, transaction fee 3, taxes 9, return discounts would be 15. And refunds would also be there, because if sometimes exchange happens, like you don't know how the business operates. Which brings you to gross profit, which is contribution margin two. Now, up till contribution margin two, as a marketing agency, we can't really do much. We can influence these levers, like we can influence COGS by slight percentage if we basically market products that are low COGS,
Yeah.
and have a high margin. So you can push more of those and not push like products that have a very low profit margin. um yeah, so we can influence, but to a great extent it is just the business model as is. So yeah, that you can, which brings you to the marketing spend, which is the main one. As an agency, the north star that we keep is a contribution margin, aka CM3. This is where your efficiency, it's also called mer, sometimes, but it's no, let me correct myself, that's not mer. That's also gives you contribution profit. So the contribution margin deducts all of your marketing spend that is on, let's say, Amazon. But if it's like two retailers at the same time, no, multi-channel PNL would have Amazon and Shopify. For this example, we'll simplify it for Shopify. Then you'll just, whatever ad platforms are sending traffic to your Shopify will deduct their ad spend. Yeah, operating expenses after contribution margin, then you'll just deduct all of your
Dog
cost
food.
of buying dog food.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah. That
Yeah.
helps. And then you get to your net profit, which is also called your EBITDA.
Yeah.
And I think it's also confusing, right? Because some people, you have your product margin, you have gross margin, but there's actually four levels of contribution margin. So some people are like, hey, how is there four levels of contribution margin? While there's also a product margin, gross margin, but it's actually the same, just in a different naming and order, I would say.
Yeah, usually
But
we don't really get into the complication of like EBITDA, because it is not really as important for the marketing team, unless it's like
yeah,
a sellout, or like, that they want to like move to like
exactly.
stakeholders report and all of that. Our job is to look at mostly at contribution margin, and even sometimes operating expenses are also irrelevant to an extent. If they are really okay, they have a really good cash flow. If they have cash flow issue, then we need to know the operating expenses. So that
Exactly.
depends. So, but I've never come across till now that I have to dig into the EBITDA, like all the taxes, depreciation, and all.
Yeah, well, then we would truly be financial controllers, and we would
Yeah,
actually have a whole different business model if we go all the way there.
exactly.
Well, I just want to zoom really quick in on the discount, because obviously this is where a lot of brands always feel they have to discount themselves, right, to sell. And I think we've seen a lot of brands also become into a danger zone where if you're discounting it all the times, and at some point you want your strategy to change it, you want to become. We've seen many brands say, okay, we want to move from all these promos and discounting towards premium. You can't simply always do that, because you're running into your old audience has been trained on you discounting. So discounting is a very powerful tool to, if you can remove it from this level, it will, your contribution margin will easily go up. But it is something that your audience is either trained by or not, and that's kind of like the thing is. But it's a very powerful lever to pull.
Yeah, exactly. It also depends on the brand structure, like what sort of pricing do you have and how much can you afford to discount. Like, for example, if I have a $3 water bottle, I have an average premium Himalayan water bottle that costs $10, and then I have Liquid Death, which is like how much? $20? How much does it cost?
Something like
It's a
it, yeah.
premium water bottle. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So how are you priced? Like what position in the market do you have price wise, and how much can you discount, right?
Yeah,
Understanding all of that, like if you're a commodity good like that sells a $3, you really have a very small margin, and then if you
exactly.
discount heavy on top of it, Makes no
Yeah, you
sense.
can't. No, you can't. You just have to. Your brand positioning needs to be so good that you have just a perceived value that allows you to discount more or in right times. Like for example, I love the example of Rich wallets. They typically they barely do any sales, but when they do it, they either do it from um, their collection that doesn't sell so well. They do less of a
Mm,
discount on
exactly.
their top sellers. Like it's really tailored. They know exactly how to play with these levers to get the highest contribution margin out of it.
Yeah. So you have like category A products, category B products, and category C products. So if you
Yeah.
always discount on your category A that sells best, running out of stock all the time,
Yeah.
and have the highest demand, you can't discount them. It's
No.
better to discount the ones that don't sell that good. That saves margin a lot. Yeah.
Yeah,
That
and people
discounting
get to
strategy
know
helps.
also inventory wise, like why would you discount something that always
Hmm.
sells out or that is just a great seller? You don't need to, right? You want to sell something else. The other strategy that we often see is when, well, one of these we have these Ring doorbells. They never discount the accessories. They always just discount the main element because they want to sell those, and the accessories always stay premium because
Yeah.
it's how it works, right? So it's just a
True.
smart strategy to look at this. You want to move through
Yeah.
your sheet?
Yes.
All right, let's do it.
Let's do that. I'm going to share my screen. Still new at it, so be patient.
Yeah, everybody, we this is also Friday, so for some people are just probably it's 5 o'clock somewhere. You know what that means, so just should be easy on that. It's all good.
Yes. So we spoke about like the definitions and how the technically like in the books how it looks like. But this
Mhm.
is a real case study, like what we did. We onboarded the client. I'll give some context behind it. What was the expectation? What was the client really going through? What we did, what we identified, what adjustments we made, so we could actually be where we are right now, which is 4x of where they were. Um, Initially, the client, the brand, I would refer brand, not client. Yeah. So what we did was the brand onboarded. They had an expectation in terms of ROAS because they are Google heavy.
Mhm.
And if you're Google heavy, you basically judge the efficiency of your ad platforms by the ROAS. It has been handed over to us from many many years ago.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's only fair, but then there was a lot of back and forth in getting to the same page about what they really want, and what we should really be looking at. So the ROAS was the expectation. Then came more that, oh
Mer,
no,
yeah,
let's do more.
yeah.
Maybe that's better. Now, more is market efficiency ratio, basically what you spend versus what you got for that period.
Overall
In
channels, right?
Yeah,
Blended. Yeah.
over all channels. Yeah, exactly. So that was like, okay, let's not do ROAS in platform. We'll focus on more. And then we had the conversation like even more is misleading because you could be making a $400,000 monthly gross revenue, but then you still not be profitable. So then came down and we all agreed that contribution margin is the North Star for us. Um, then here, for example, I'll show you. By the way, this can expand, and some people might feel dizzy because there are too many numbers. So bear with me.
You got to be a little
Now,
more left-brained to get this part. But if you're hanging in there still and you're not intimidated by the sheet, I respect you.
if you are a true data nerd, then you would love it.
Yes,
Like
you
I'm
bring all
this
the
close
difference in
to
the
getting a
world.
printout and put it in a frame on my wall. So
Yeah, and I just to
anyway,
give a bit of a background here with this particular client slash brand, what we saw in the conversation is that a lot of these brands they started, it went well, they're growing, but it doesn't mean that they always know how to look at their own finances. And so we actually digged in with them because they it started at ROAS, then it became MER, and then it moved all the way to. But you guys are talking about profitability, so we can optimize on profitability. It's actually a very good idea for you. But typically initially was come out of the client like, okay, ROAS, okay, why? Yeah, because of this. Okay, cool. But ultimately we went with profitability and we went for full contribution margin. So it's always about the language, and for agency/freelance, it's important to listen. Like, what is the client actually saying? What do they want? And because you can assist them. Typically, they don't even understand the finance of their business. They're just good at some element in their business. Doesn't mean it's always finance, because typically it's the stuff that nobody really wants to look at.
Yeah, exactly. Where is my sheet? Okay.
It's right
So now blended MER, BMER is basically MER. You can say blended MER. If we look at examples, like you would have a highest, let me find an example for the viewers. Okay. So you could have like a 3 and a 4, but your contribution margin would vary a lot here. Let me find a very clean example. Should be most recent one. Okay. Yeah. So if you look at your blended MER being close to 4 and then your blended MER improving by 4.2, you would think that September was the best one, but then the contribution margin was what, like 0.68 improvement. So it's just like you could have a higher blended MER, but the end, like the last piece in the pie that we spoke about, the size of it would actually dictate, not like what was I paid at the bakery and how big of a cake that I got. So that was just a random example that I created.
I mean, we love talking about food and pies. I think it speaks to the minds of people. This is good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And speaks a lot about the host. Yeah, so that is where we moved from blended MER to contribution margin. Now, if we break it down similar to how the infographic was, we start from gross sale, like total gross sale that we got into Shopify. By the way, you can duplicate this. There is another way. If you have money, you can buy a fancy software that helps you do that. That doesn't. You can get by the numbers that does the same thing. There is another one.
Lifetimely, was it?
Lifetimely, yes.
Yeah.
You can get these ones also. They help a lot. This one, just for the sake of it, we wanted clarity, so we just did it on ourselves. Which, yeah, you can do it too. You can do your gross sales here. So you can do it by month. You can do it by week. Then the one other thing, which is the most important one, always split it by new versus returning, because
Yes.
your marketing spend, how much goes to the new and how much goes to the returning, we need to have control over it, because the ad platforms will automatically go after the returning and the new will not increase. And if you continuously not acquire new customers, you'll deplete on your returning eventually.
Yeah. I think to emphasize on that, I think that's a very key point, because I see a lot of others that are optimizing with tools for profit. But nobody's combining the dots between profit and then new and returning customers, because that's actually that's the needle mover. Because you can still optimize on profit, but when you're blindsided as to like how much new versus returning, you could be bleeding yourself into returning customers, kill off your lifeline new customers, and then after 6 months you're like, why is my business not growing? And that's exactly the reason why.
But the ROAS is 10, Vincent.
You're right. What am I talking about? We should skip this live stream. Just go back to ROAS.
Exactly. So when you break down everything with new and returning, you understand like what is it that affecting. For example, with this client, we were look at these two rows, the new customer discount versus the returning customer discount. There were instances when the returning customers were at 11% and the new were only 1. But that's where you lose most of it, because the client thinks that if I send out all these emails with a discount coupon, let's do it 10% to all the email subscribers, you lose the discount, like you lose margin on the returning people because you're discounting heavy to your returning customers. So that gives you visibility, like what could be it. So if you look at in December, we actually did not acquire as many. No, we did not actually discount heavily on the new. We actually discounted more on returning. So that is where we could have had more control over. And yeah, so things like that helps. Um,
Yeah, and it's typically common practice with brands to always give a bit of a discount for their first purchase, right? The first time they
yeah.
buy from their store, they typically give a bit of a discount. On returning, it's just different because if there's brand loyalty, there's more perceived value, there's great positioning. You just need less of that to, it eats into your margins if you have to do it that way.
Exactly.
And also to that point, this is really where the magic happened. If you understand this, if you see this, now your question becomes, okay, if I know that I'm overspending discounts on returning customers, how can I engineer this back into the ad platforms not to give too much discount to my returning customer or new customer discounts? There's ways in Google in particular also to focus more on net new rather than returning, and vice versa. But there's ways to do this, and that's going to be very important because now everything is very much aligned from the business top line levels all the way into the ad platform.
Exactly. Yeah, so decisions like this, sometimes agencies, like most of the agencies I know, they don't really look into these things. That how much are you discounting, and it's just up to the brand to decide. And they sometimes cut their own foot by over discounting, and then yeah, the contribution margin gets affected. Um, but yeah, anyway, so there's another example that I would want to show is basically now where is AOV really important? Because AOV also helps you get a better contribution margin in a way, because you have a not contribution margin per se, but contribution profit, the volume of profit, because it all depends. Like in marketing, there's like you can't say anything without saying it all depends. You can have a slightly lower contribution margin, but then if you have a higher contribution profit, that helps to pay off your operating costs for example. So that is where if you look at, if you do a lower AOV, which is what here it was, and the contribution margin was 31, and the contribution profit volume was lower. And then if you move to higher AOV, your contribution profit volume also increases. Now, this again depends on what the client really needs. Sometimes a client need volume to pay off operating expenses. Sometimes the client doesn't really care much about the operating expenses because it's pretty much covered. They need efficiency. So that's where it depends again, right?
Well, when you say it
Depending on what
depends,
your goal
really,
is.
I have always, in the past 15 years that I'm in this world, I always said it depends. That's not the answer people want to hear, but when you hear it, you kind of know you're talking to a true expert because they are able to give you customized scenarios based on what you're doing. So if you get pissed off by that, you're really pissing off yourself, honestly. That's just what happens. You got to be like, oh, it depends. I'm not understanding this. I need to learn this, because that's really where the magic happens. It is true.
Yeah. I mean, I would ask, what is your requirement? Like, what is your goal? And so after what you asked me about what would be the first thing, the second thing I would ask is, what are your goals? What do you want? Do you want efficiency for the next 6 months, or do you want scale? Do you want a aggressive scale, or do you want like a conservative, like gradual scale? With this client, it was a gradual scale. They did not care. Though their original goal was like, let's do 10% year over year, though we did 75% growth
It was
year over year.
absolutely insane. Yeah.
Yeah. By also improving the contribution margin. But yeah, those opportunities you can only identify post you really know what you're dealing with.
Yeah. And I'm not sure if we're going to go into that in this call, but we can talk about, because it's very uncommon that you scale the total sales and you scale the contribution margin to you increase it to a higher point. The ROAS might go down, but it doesn't matter. But it's very uncommon. And we can talk also about account architecture-wise and which ad platforms and how we're leveraging. I don't think we have the time to go into that today, but definitely in some of the other ones we will dig into that one.
Definitely. I think once we close it to marketing cost, we'll take it over to like where that marketing cost was allocated, because we did do a lot of back and forth, like how we want to distribute this marketing cost across platforms and which one would give us. And then we'll get into the media modeling mix part, which let's do that next session. So as you can see from here, 200,000 to 300,000 to like in December, the client was like, can we do 400,000? I was like, hell yeah, let's do it. And then we didn't. And then obviously now we are continuing at it. And now the next goal is 400,000, which I think may.
And that's the beauty, right? In December typically is a month where all brands have just, it's a seasonality thing, significantly more revenue in most industries, not all, but you see this bigger spark. But yeah, like I said, now we're in April, we're at the highest point with a very high contribution margin as well, almost 50%, which is, if you look at all the others where they were starting in November 2024, I think it was 109K at a 34 or something. So that's very uncommon. And that also is dictated by obviously understanding the business from a strategic finance position, as in this, understanding all the different things. So for example, returning customer discounts and new customer discounts. Okay, now that I know that, how can I use that by orchestrating what I'm doing inside of my ad account, right? Also, okay, AOV is important. New customer AOV, returning customer AOV is also important. What can I do with this inside my ad platforms to stimulate that, right? Because Google, for example, the algorithm simply goes after the low-hanging fruit, meaning low impulse buy, low revenue type of things. If you don't direct it into a different direction, if you don't pivot, pivot, there we go. There it was.
Exactly.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, so that's where like there was a lot of back and forth in having that understanding about what is how much do you pay for delivery, how much are the returns, and then how much do you actually refund, because with their business it's more like returns, and Shopify counted as exchange. Sometimes people buy something and then get it exchanged for something else, which counts as a return. So we only take refunded payments, the actual dollar amount that was paid back to the customer, to calculate our net sales, which is not something that Shopify does that natively. So we had to build that out on our own, because sometimes businesses are different, models are different, and you have to have real customization done to understand your data.
That's the superpower, really. Like, for example, this one had what was it, 18,000 SKUs? Not too many, but also not too little. So there's a lot in there that you can leverage, right?
Exactly.
And especially when there's different product margins, you got a lot to play with. That on a default level, you just can't hit that. You can't do anything with it.
Exactly. Yeah. So cost of delivery was were the COGS. Like I remember it was Q3-ish. This is where the contribution of COGS. Yeah, if you see, it's always above 40, right? It was averaging above 40. And then we basically around here in November was it, I think. And then we dropped it by 4%. And a 4% in COGS is a big deal. To improve that, because obviously that helps improve contribution margin further. So that was, what was it? Contribution margin second, like product margin, basically.
Yeah. So yeah, cost of goods sold. That's one of the levers that when you understand how that works, you can talk to the client which products typically have it higher or lower. You can play around with it, push different narratives with different products, just to stimulate a better return, therefore better profits. The OPEX here is fixed. By the way, if you want this template with the formulas in it, you can add a comment underneath wherever you see this, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and just add the word contribute. We'll send it your way so you can use this sheet for your own clients. You can just fill it in, but you at least have all the placeholders and just have to fill in the numbers, and the formulas will still exist in there.
Yeah. So now we come to the marketing costs. Now, one other thing that we have a really much of like a buzz around is like lower NCAC, higher MER is the best situation to be in. And lower NCAC, and higher NEOV, higher NMER, these are very much subjective. Again, it depends. So if you have an NEOV increasing from, let's say, 210 to 318, that's a lot. I've increased it by $1,800, $108, and then I have to pay more, right, to acquire that higher AOV. So your NCAC will also increase with a higher AOV.
Yeah.
As long as your NMER is stable, it's good. But then sometimes when you have an NMER of higher, but your contribution margin could still be lower.
By the way, your NMER, for the people who don't know, is your new customer media efficiency ratio. So it's the blended ad spend on only the new customers.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, now you can't, again, just like platforms, just like ad platforms, you can't look at ad platforms in a silo way. You can't look at these marketing performance indicators in a silo manner. Like you have to connect the dots to ultimately reach to your North Star, which would be contribution margin. Yeah, so that's all of these numbers, too many sometimes. But
if I can come back real quick to that point, right? Because what you're saying, I think that you often see that in the market, like lower end CAC. So what is the takeaway from this? Like what is the, because it's kind of like a bit of a myth buster, if you want to see it like that. Like, how would you describe the takeaway for this?
Like if you have just 3 products on the website and the average retail price is $30, then your stable NCAC and the lower NCAC we appreciate because your NEOV would not really fluctuate a lot, right? But if you are a retailer that sells products from $100 to, let's say, even $5,000 product, then your AOV will fluctuate a lot depending what product groups are you pushing on your advertising.
Yeah.
And that dictates how. So if you want to sell a 500,000 like $5,000 product, then you'll have to pay more to the ad platform. That is where your NCAC cost will increase. So that's
it creates the fallacy that if you're a large catalog advertiser with a lot of different price points, selling a $40 item has a different acquisition cost than a $4,000 item, and this is what we're seeing. So you cannot just take one NCAC and just roll with it because it's going to fluctuate, and therefore your NMER, because it's relying on your AOV and revenue, is therefore also a completely different picture. I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where having visibility to all of these would help you. Like, where is it that we can make adjustment into marketing that will help move the entire picture and your contribution margin and also scale at the same time.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what we did with this client. So what we did was they were just putting everything together into one campaign, and obviously this is where you have a very small margin to play with, and if you give that to Google to decide, then if it's a $40 product and your COGS are $20, your actual net profit is $10, but your CPA is $10. So you literally made no money. And sometimes sometimes you actually pay $15. You're actually paying out of your pocket to sell that product. So having that visibility in margins help you pick those product groups. Like, these are the products that I want to push, and that's what we did with them. we identified the products between 500 to 1000 and 1000 to 2000 that sold the best, were a higher price point and a low CPA in platform, which left a bigger margin for us. And then, yeah, so we, with a higher, one other thing is, like, usually what I've seen is if you have a higher price product that you're pushing on your Google campaigns, you can afford to pay more CPCs, right? And the more you can pay, the more, the bigger market capture you can do.
Mhm.
So I didn't, we did run that, and then we are now pushing, I think around 60% of the budget goes to that group that helps us deliver this scale, and it's continuously obviously going up.
Yeah, I think that's key. And you there's only so long, and this is the beauty thing. Like your ROAS in platform might look good. You sell an item that's $40, but your gross profit is probably $20, but then your acquisition is 10. So you're running actually at a loss. But your in platform ROAS says, keep scaling, buddy. This is looking great. This is, you're hitting that 3 or that 4 or whatever that is, but on the back end you're losing money. Yeah, you might acquire new customers, but there's no actual profit in these new customers. So either you need to have a business model where you have a long LTV that you get your money back 2-3 months later, or ideally after 1 month. You could have that business model, but for the typical large catalog advertiser, that is not the case. They need to make their profits from the first one. And otherwise, if this is what you want, before you know it, you can't buy the dog food anymore. And the dog, where does the dog need to eat? It's not what you want. Truly not what you want.
Vincent, you deserve this. What you said about the LTV.
I appreciate that. We have a question. I'm not sure if you want to finish something up or you can do the question.
Yeah, let's go to the question.
Sachin has a question. I've got a furniture brand with really tight margins and a huge product catalog. I'm trying to scale year over year. You can do this too. That's amazing. You gotta read it. Well, scale year over year. Should I be focusing on pushing only high margin SKUs and ads, or should I work on fixing their full margin across the board first? Because right now it feels like I just spend more on ads, might grow revenue, but actually destroy profitability. That is a really refined question. Okay. You want to take that one?
Yeah, it would be the same situation. Like what you do ad platform wise, you would not have any idea what it is doing in terms of profitability. So getting that visibility would be the first thing. Like get access to Shopify. That is bare minimum that you need to have. If you're running somebody's ad account and you don't have access to Shopify, give the account back. Don't even make any changes. It is not going to do anything. So the first thing, even auditing an ad account, is we don't look at Google ad account. We don't look at any ad account. We go to Shopify directly and we just look at Shopify. And if there is any information that is missing, then we get that information first before jumping into the ad platforms. So get that understanding what we spoke about here, the four levels, the waterfall method. And then, yeah, look at the margins and identify the products that sell the best, have the highest margin, and just push those products. Make sure that you don't really spend budget onto something that is causing loss for you. You're actually paying money out of your pocket to sell that product, because that doesn't help a business.
Yeah, it makes me think of a very interesting angle from, I think everybody agrees that speed in business works, right? If you can get on things quick, typically works out for you. However, speed in combination with the wrong things amplifies damage. So,
Exactly.
like you said, like what we typically do, we dive first into I just want to say Spotify, but it's Shopify. And we look at all these numbers, then we get there's a range of questions. So before we ever dive into the ad account, we have done a very thorough analysis. We would rather be very thorough and very qualitative research on that before we touch the ad account, instead of finding some low-hanging fruit quick wins that are not really quick wins, because we're not even sure what we're touching and what we're turning up or down, right? So that's why things have changed. Like if you have somebody that does first a really thorough analysis in the first week, I think it's really solid. Instead of just, for the sake of speed, showing something that is not really what it is.
Exactly. Like
So
if you also look at those Google ad audits, right? Who's like, oh, you can improve your keywords, you can improve the bidding strategy, you can improve the ads. Those
yeah,
are the worst audits ever.
and they get
Like,
automated now with AI, right? I've seen
yeah,
today an
exactly.
example where it says these things, and I'm like, I'm not pissing on AI, right? AI is great, you can leverage it, but without the context, you're just gonna get a
Yeah,
bunch of shit.
there is no context. Like,
Yeah,
and if a brand looks at that audit and like, oh my God, the ad management is the horrible one. And that is not the case. Like things have changed so much. And there are these audits that I have seen that like would say your CPA is really high, your CPCs are really high, your ROAS target is very low. You're like running a campaign at 100% ROAS. That is horrible,
yeah.
So that is where like those audits are not good. That's a
Exactly.
red
That's a
flag.
very good point, because that's kind of like the trick up the sleeve. If somebody without this knowledge, without the context of the business metric comes in
Yeah.
and looks at like at 100% TROIs, that's not probably, you should not be doing it. And then if the client does not have the education, at least to a certain degree, and they were like, huh, yeah, why are we doing 100% TROIs, right? It's all, again, I've been saying this for so many times. The biggest thing with brands and clients is just trust. They need to trust you that you're executing the right thing. Build that trust, investment from both sides. You gotta and just ask the questions, right? If you don't know what's happening in the ad, I think it's good because you're still the owner. You need to
Yeah.
know what's happening, and also I think if you're an expert, you love explaining your craft, right? You just love to explain why you're doing what you're doing, and then the guys,
Yeah,
it will
exactly.
increase the trust that you'll have. So I think it's so key. Yeah.
Yeah. One other Shopify account that I saw was basically they were really frustrated with their current agency and they were not profitable, right? And that was Google Ads account agency. They were like they're not delivering what we need and all of that. I audited the Shopify and I looked at that there was all of this traffic that was moved away from product A that sold best and was moved to a product B that did not sell so best, but all of the advertising spends went there. And obviously, we all know what sells on Meta automatically sells on Google. And if
Yeah.
you fall short on Meta, you shall fall short on Google. And
Yeah.
so you just back off at that times. Like probably you don't need me. You just need to fix this, and probably your existing agency will take care of it. And that's where trust is built. What you said, right? You're not hogging them for unnecessary, like change this, change this. I can do the
No.
best job. Like, you know,
No, and it requires, there's so many out there. There's cowboys, there's other things. So people have been burned in the past. You just need to know what you're looking
yeah,
for.
exactly.
Um, yeah, I think that's fair. I just had a thought, but I forgot my, no, what'd you say in English?
Chain of thoughts.
Yeah, train of thoughts just went out the
Chain
door.
of
I,
thoughts.
I lost it. It will come back to me. Yeah. No, but in general, this is just key for brands to understand this part. And also, I think it's a never-ending thing where you want to educate your clients on, hey, why is it the things that we're doing this way? Even in the
Exactly.
brief 5-minute loop, maybe, but so they understand what you're doing and why you're doing it for the better of their company. Because yeah, everybody in an ad account can just start pissing on what, there's always something to find that's not going well, right? Oh, you have 15 headlines instead of 5, or vice versa, depending on what way you're looking at it.
Yeah.
These things don't really matter. Oh yeah, I remember the train. So here was my thought formally. When you said when you scale on Meta, you typically also know how to scale on Google. I think this is exactly our left-brained pattern recognition. By now we have to understand like which brands, typically social heavy, you see a lot of like, okay, benchmark ad spend versus Meta and Google. But then with large catalog advertisers, there is room on Google because there's so much bottom of funnel
Mm,
search volume, right? So the rules are not, again, it depends. The rules do not apply everywhere, but it's after
yeah.
seeing so many accounts, you and I both, and done so many ads, you have this innate pattern recognition that you see, exactly, okay, combine that with the insights of Shopify data or whatever CMS you have, and you just almost have an intuition for data that you can't get. You only can get it with experience. No AI can do it for you.
Yeah,
AI can make
exactly.
things faster. We should do it in a very deliberate way. Yeah.
Yeah, agreed. It's also like understanding patterns for your customer journey. Like, what is their buyer's journey? Like, when you understand the buyer journey, then you understand where to put the money in, right?
Yeah.
If your buyer usually starts its journey from Google, then you would want to be there. And they
Exactly.
don't really, for example, like one of the brands that we worked with was people who want to book an RV for their family vacation, right? So usually people have a mind that, oh, we want to book an RV, and they go to Google and they search in for where can I get an RV rental. So they have most of their traffic coming from Google because that's the journey for the customer, the purchase
Mm.
journey, right? And once we understand that, we understand what is more scalable and where should we put most money in.
And that's just key. You gotta look through
Yeah.
the forest to find the trees. That's what we do. And
Yeah.
if you love your pets and they're part of your OPEX, you want to keep buying that food for them, then this is a really good almost hour long of data and insights that you should leverage. So once more, for anybody who wants this sheet right here, right, which is very useful, comment, contribute, we'll send it your way. And so you can start leveraging it. The formulas are in there. You just have to fill out the numbers by month, and it suits itself really.
Yeah.
Do you have any closing thoughts for today, Rachna?
ROAS sucks, contribution margin rocks.
This deserves so much of this. Well, this was amazing. Thank you all for watching. Thank you, Rachna, for being here, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you, Vincent. Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.